What if Europe didn't rise because it was smarter, more innovative, or more disciplined, but because it stumbled upon the largest money printer the world had ever seen? What if the foundations of modern capitalism, global trade, and even inflation itself were not born in European banks, or royal courts but carved out of South American mountains by forced labor, silver dust, and unimaginable human cost? And what if the very metal that built Europe's empires also quietly destabilized them, planting the seeds of economic chaos we are still repeating today? This is not just a story about silver. It's a story about how money moves power, how abundance can destroy value, and how inflation, long before modern governance, first reshaped the global economy. And it begins not in London, Paris, or Madrid, but deep underground. To understand what South America's silver did to Europe, we must first understand what Europe was missing. In the late 1400s, Europe was poor not in ideas, but in money. Trade was growing, armies were expensive, kings wanted to build empires. But Europe had a problem that modern economists would instantly recognize: not enough hard currency. Gold and silver were the lifeblood of economies. They backed coins, paid soldiers, funded trade, and stabilized prices. Yet Europe's mines were running dry. Asian trade routes drained precious metals eastward. China demanded silver. The Ottoman Empire controlled land routes. Europe had ambition but no fuel. Then, in 1492, something changed. Colombo didn't find what he was looking for, but Europe found something better. At first, the Americas disappointed Spain. Gold appeared, but not in the quantities kings dreamed of. Then, in the 1540s, everything shifted. High in the Andes, Spanish explorers discovered Cerro Rico, the rich mountain of Potosí in modern-day Bolivia. It wasn't gold, it was silver, and not just a little silver. It was the largest silver deposit ever discovered. Soon after, massive silver veins were found in Zacatecas and Guanajuato in Mexico. Together, these mines would produce over 60% of the world's silver for centuries. Europe hadn't just found money, it had found monetary dominance. Silver didn't automatically create empires. It had to be extracted, minted, and moved. Spain built an industrial system before the Industrial Revolution even existed. Indigenous labor systems were transformed into forced labor drafts. African and slave labor was imported. Mercury amalgamation allowed low-grade ores to be processed efficiently, and entire cities emerged around mines almost overnight. Potosí became one of the largest cities on Earth, larger than London at the time. Every year, fleets of treasure ships carried silver across the Atlantic. From there, it flowed everywhere. Into royal treasuries, into mercenary armies, into wars across Europe, into global trade networks. Silver was no longer just metal. It was the operating system of empire. Spain used silver to do what no European power had done before: fight permanent global wars. Armies no longer needed domestic taxation alone. They were funded by overseas extraction. Silver paid for soldiers in the Netherlands, naval fleets in the Mediterranean, political influence across Europe. Other empires followed. The silver didn't stop in Spain. It moved through Genoese bankers, Dutch financial networks, in English trade houses. Silver became liquidity, and liquidity creates leverage. Here's the twist most history books gloss over. Much of Europe's silver never stayed in Europe. It went east. China's Ming dynasty required taxes to be paid in silver. European merchants used American silver to buy Chinese goods: silk, porcelain, tea. This created the first truly global trade loop. South America gives Europe, gives Asia, gives Europe. For the first time in history, continents were economically linked by a single monetary metal. Silver unified the world, and destabilized it at first. Silver felt like magic. Kings paid debts. Cities expanded. Trade flourished. Then prices started rising. Slowly at first, then relentlessly. Between the 1500s and early 1600s, prices across Europe quadrupled. This wasn't coincidence. It was inflation, and Europe had never experienced anything like it. Historians call it the price revolution. Basic goods, grain, rent, tools rose faster than wages. Who suffered? Peasants, urban workers, fixed-income earners. Who benefited? Debtors, landowners, governance. Sound familiar? Silver had expanded the money supply dramatically, but productivity hadn't kept up. More money chased the same goods. Value fell. Prices rose. This inflation did something profound. It reshaped society. Feudal systems weakened, wage labor expanded. Capital accumulation accelerated. Tenflation quietly transferred wealth upward. Those closest to money, states, elites, financiers, won. Those who worked for wages lost purchasing power. Silver didn't just fund empires, it restructured class systems. Spain seemed unstoppable. Yet, despite rivers of silver, Spain would declare bankruptcy multiple times. Why? Because silver creates the illusion of wealth but not sustainability. Military spending escalated, debt piled up, inflation eroded competitiveness. Spain imported goods instead of building industries. Silver masked weakness, and when the flow slowed, reality hit. By the early 1600s, Spain appeared invincible on paper. Its fleets crossed oceans. Its armies fought on multiple fronts. Its crown controlled more territory than any empire before it. And yet, Spain was broke. Not metaphorically broke, literally bankrupt. Despite controlling the largest silver supply in human history, the Spanish crown defaulted on its debts again and again. This is the paradox at the heart of the Silver Age. How can the richest empire in the world keep running out of money? The answer exposes a flaw not just in Spain but in monetary systems themselves. Silver created cash flow, but it did not create productivity. Spain imported food, weapons, ships, and textiles instead of producing them. Domestic industry stagnated. Inflation made Spanish goods expensive and uncompetitive. Foreign merchants, especially the Dutch and English, sold goods to Spain and took silver in return. Spain mined, others industrialized. Silver left as fast as it arrived. This is what economists now call the resource curse, when natural wealth weakens long-term economic foundations. Spain had money, but it lacked resilience. To fight wars and maintain empire, Spain borrowed heavily. Genoese bankers, German financiers, and later Dutch institutions extended credit backed by future silver shipments. When silver shipments were delayed by storms, piracy, or war, Spain defaulted multiple times. These defaults didn't end finance, they transformed it. Bankers learned to price risk. States learned to borrow continuously. Financial systems evolved to survive sovereign failure. Modern government debt was born here, not in theory but in crisis. While kings and financiers argued over debt, everyday people paid the real price. Inflation hollowed out wages. A farmer could no longer afford tools. A laborer worked more for less bread. Rent soared. Taxes increased. This pressure forced millions off land and into cities. Wage labor expanded. Capital accumulated. The social order shifted not by revolution, but by price. Silver didn't just change economies, it rewired society. Rulers didn't understand inflation. They saw rising prices but blamed merchants, hoarders, or moral decay. So they tried fixes, price controls, coin debasement, export bans, forced loans. Each attempt made things worse. Debasing coins reduced trust. Price controls created shortages. Capital fled where it could. Sound familiar? Without understanding monetary supply, governments treated symptoms, not causes. The system kept breaking. As Spain declined, others learned from its mistakes. The Dutch didn't rely on silver extraction. They built shipping fleets, trade monopolies, banks, stock markets. The English followed. Empire no longer depended on metal. It depended on financial architecture. Silver had shown what money could do. Now institutions would do it better. Here's the most unsettling part. Silver is gone, but the pattern remains. Replace silver with gold, oil, cheap credit, printed money. The cycle repeats. Rapid monetary expansion gives asset booms, gives inequality, gives inflation, gives crisis. The technology changes. The logic doesn't. In the 21st century, money isn't mined. It's created. Trillions of dollars, euros, and yen entered the system in just years. At first, markets surged, debt became cheap, governments spent freely, then asset prices exploded, wages lagged, living costs rose, inflation returned. Not as a surprise but as a historical echo. Inflation isn't just an economic phenomenon. It's a power transfer mechanism. It benefits debtors, asset holders. States it harms. Savers, workers, fixed incomes. Just as it did in the 1500s, the metal changed. The meth didn't. Takeaway 1. Money is power, not wealth. Silver created influence but not strength. Real wealth comes from productivity, not abundance. Takeaway 2. Inflation is a silent restructuring tool. It shifts power without elections or wars. Takeaway 3. Systems don't collapse immediately. They decay slowly while appearing strongest. Every era believes its money is different. Every era believes it has solved inflation. Every era is wrong. The Silver Age wasn't a failure of greed, it was a failure of understanding, and we may be repeating it at digital speed. The world didn't change because of silver. It changed because people believed money could replace fundamentals. That belief built empires and broke them. If this story changed how you see money, inflation, or power, like this video to help others discover it. Subscribe for deep history explanations of modern systems. Comment, what do you think today's silver really is? Because history doesn't repeat itself, but it rhymes.